Want to have your own business but don't want to start from scratch? Franchising might be the answer you're looking for. Welcome to the Level Up with Nick Lopez show. The show that brings you thought leaders in business, franchising, and high-performance personal development. Whether you're a buyer, seller, franchisee, franchisor, or a consultant, find everything you need to know about franchising right here. Own a business without the pain and financial losses that come with creating it. Find the time, freedom, and financial independence you can have through entrepreneurship. Learn how franchising can help you get there. Listen up and get ready for another episode of the Level Up with Nick Lopez show.
Welcome to the Level Up show with Nick Lopez. Today, I am absolutely honored to have a longtime friend, mentor, advisor, coach, you name it, but the author of Entrepreneur's Franchise Bible, Rick Grossman. Welcome.
Thank you, Nick. Good to see you. It's an honor to be here as well.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Rick. So you and I go way back, to some of my startup days, and it was not that long ago, right?
No, it seems like yesterday, but I know it was a little bit longer than that. But it's been so much fun to watch you develop into a powerful franchise leader, and I'm excited to see what you have in store.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You definitely have a unique perspective on myself and Lime. Oh my gosh, just the hours and hours and days and years that we worked together, establishing and really building the foundation of Lime. Just so grateful for you, Rick, and the team there at the Franchise Hub. It was really a special time in my life. But the development of myself as a leader, I definitely leveled up during my time of getting to know you, your family, the family at the Franchise Hub. So Rick, you and I really bonded initially over where franchise owners come first, right? You and I really connected on our similar values, and clearly Lime is a values-based company, love, integrity, mission, excellence. But I really appreciated the time that time at the Franchise Hub and being mentored by you, because one of the things that you really instilled was, where franchise owners come first. It's not just a statement on a coffee mug, right? Yeah. And so I wanted to hear from you. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. Well, something, one of the things that I've always considered to be very important in my coaching franchise executives all over the world now, is what are the really important keys to success in a franchise business. I was just talking to a brand new franchisor yesterday, and some people think it's about selling a lot of units, and some think it's about pumping money into marketing and all of these things. But the reality is the balance between the franchisor and the franchisees, and the collaboration and the common goal and the common respect and trust there. And so when you look at what is the key to success as a franchise organization, it's all about the franchise owners and their success. Because, and it sounds cliche now that your success is our success, everyone says, in just about any line of work. But in reality, with the franchise system, if your franchise owners aren't doing great, you're not doing great. And so the franchise owners come first ethos, so to speak, is to, I encourage my clients to wake up every morning and think about how they can help their franchise owners succeed and do better today. And it's like you said, Nick, it's a true belief. It's not a cliche. It's not something you put on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. It's something that you have to believe and embody. It's kind of like, you and I are both happily married guys. And, we know that we keep our priorities straight, right? And if we ever put ourselves above our faith or above our spouses, it doesn't work so well, does it? Right? So when you wake up in the morning and think, well, how can I serve my Lord today, and how can I serve my wife today and my children? You have the right perspective, right? It's that servant leader model I talk about in the book, or the upside down pyramid, and the things that we talk about there by being the servant leader. So truly being committed to the success of the franchise owners is really the key. And the ones that get it. The ones that don't.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could just, take so many snippets there, and it's just gold. It's unbelievable to me, especially in my field of work with, contracting and painters and just showing up and doing a good job, or, paying a painter timely, or even just acknowledging and treating them like people. It's just these very fundamental, and we're talking about it here in the context of franchising, as a franchisor, franchisee, understanding that the franchise is about the franchise owner.
Right. Absolutely.
How does that get lost? But
I think that, basically all the years of coaching that I've been in this industry, it comes from the standard experience a lot of franchisors go through, where they're the employer and their employees or their team, and they learn that management relationship, and they carry that into the franchise relationship. Not that a business owner and an employee should be a bad or adversarial one, but it is more of a directive type business model, right? And then when you get a franchise group and attach it to that same company, they tend to go with what they're used to, and start, treating the franchisees like their employees. And that's not the way it works in the franchise business, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of see why that pattern can happen. So naturally, in all of our coaching programs and leadership groups, and we're starting mastermind groups now, and always we focus on the same first thing, which is leadership. You remember that, and focus on that servant leader model right away, because if they don't get that part, the rest of it really doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, exactly. So you started a franchise business yourself. You founded and were the franchisor, grew it to 120 locations or so in a couple of years.
150.
150, which is just, oh my gosh, Rick, not too many folks to do that. And my gosh, like I said, it's really been an honor to have been coached and mentored by you. And I don't even know this, but how did you get into franchising?
Yeah, I always say it's not like little boys lay in their bed at night and dream about growing up to be a franchisor, right? I was always entrepreneurial. A lot of people can't believe that I started out in business as a DJ, because I'm a pretty mild-mannered guy most of the time. Watch out, get me around some turntables. You got to watch out. I was doing, I ran a DJ business in high school when I was, 16, 15 years old, and I was making more money doing that than, my friends were making working at the local fast food restaurants, even though I did a little bit of that too. And I really started to understand and appreciate the relationship between a business and its customers, and learned a lot about that experience. I actually did work for the McDonald's company when I was, just as a crew person and a manager, but I learned a lot about customer service and professional business practices, and had a lot of responsibilities as a young guy. And when I got into college, I wanted to level up, right? I was kind of maxed out with, we got the biggest, most successful entertainment company in my little town of Santa Barbara, California. And I had people starting to ask me about expanding into other areas, other markets. And so I knew the only taste of franchising that I had was working for McDonald's, which was a pretty neat experience when I was a young person. And I learned about the structure of a franchise. Still didn't have a real clear picture of what it was all about. Yeah. But I was a marketing major in college, and I tripped into a class one day where my marketing professor had brought in a special guest. And he was the founder and CEO of Cashland check cashing franchises. And I don't even know, what the history of that company ended up being, but it was interesting to hear about the structure of a franchise, the franchisor and franchisee relationships and things. And a light bulb went off that day, and I've been obsessed with franchising ever since. Mm-hmm. And so it made total sense to me that if I've got a system for doing business, and others can adopt that system and do better, or even adopt that system and go into a line of work that they've never been in before. With the training and the structure I had learned at McDonald's, I knew that I could do it. So I was very blessed to, back in those days, we used to go down to the library. We didn't have the internet. So we went to the library. I picked up, Franchise Bible is a series that goes back about 30 years, maybe more. And the original author of that series is Erwin Coit, who unfortunately has passed away. But I did what we call primary research. I flipped the book over and saw his picture on the back of the book and called his office and thought, I'm never going to get through to this guy. And he picked up the phone and ended up being just a great guy. And he's like, hey, I love Santa Barbara. Why don't I drive up there and meet you? And he's only about 100 miles south of us. So he came up and we sat down and talked, and he became my mentor. He taught me the franchise business and became a good friend. And we worked on projects together. We used to talk franchise all the time. Anytime our wives got tired of us talking franchise, we'd have to get on the phone and kind of geek out on franchise stuff. But then we went into, he asked me to be a contributing author. And then he passed away, unfortunately, but he handed the reins to me, which was a great honor for the Franchise Bible series. And now we're proud to be carrying on the torch that he started many, many years ago. And he believed the same things that we believe: servant leadership, and that franchise owners come first, and all of the things that make franchising work as well.
So, you've had a very dynamic career. When do you think the moment was, or when was it where, you really leveled up in your career?
Well, I think that one moment was when the light bulb went off and I finally realized that franchising was the way to go for me. And that was in school. I think that probably our first conference, our first convention that we had when I was franchising AMS Entertainment, and we grew that. And then probably again, the conference, the convention for the travel business, where we set records in that business. We were selling about 50 franchises a year. We got to 150 units in 2.5 years. Back then, that was a pretty incredible growth. We had our conference and convention in Mexico and in Hawaii. And those were times that, it made sense to level up, to go for the next step. And that's really what franchising is all about, right? I mean, you've probably heard me say before that if you're a successful franchisor, you're always in the startup business, because you're always starting new franchises and launching them every month. And so in every, you get to the milestones, right? Like 50 units, and you get to 100 units, and then you get to 150 units, and you get to experience a different version of your business as you go through. So you're kind of consistent. You should consistently be leveling up. on an ongoing basis, that of your team as well, much like you have, right? So but those are some pretty dynamic moments for me as a franchise leader, which was seeing not only the growth in the numbers of franchises, but seeing the successes that they were having. Some of my favorite moments were when the franchisors would stand up and give their testimonials at the conference. And I've had grown men stand up and cry talking about how they put their kids through college and all the neat things. And one time we had a franchisee propose to his fiance at the conference because we were the closest family he had. And there's just, it's a really neat family environment, and it's really fun to see the relationships grow within the brand. So those are all part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We had our first conference in Florida this past year, and just being able to see the Lime family come together and share some of those early successes and have the award ceremony. That is what it's all about.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a milestone.
Yeah. So it was a fun milestone, and we're preparing for our second one this year, looking to do Cancun.
Ooh, okay.
So getting that all finalized, and just really being able to honor and recognize the hard work and dedication and grit and all these amazing victories. But winning in victories is about overcoming obstacles and failing, and that's learning.
Yeah,
that's growing. That's leveling up in this context, a franchise system, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, you've never been in the playbook. You've never gone through the tech and the marketing, and there's a lot of first times through that. And like anything with first times, it means that there's uncertainty, and with uncertainty, oh my gosh, there's fear.
Right.
And that is the meat and potatoes of franchising, and that is such an important responsibility.
And you recognize that, and that's important, because a lot of leaders don't, right? I always say when you accept a franchise owner into your network, you're taking on some pretty heavy duty responsibilities, right? They're trusting their finances. They're trusting, they're putting your colors on every day. They're living and breathing your dream and making it their own. And it is a lot of responsibility. And sometimes it's taken too lightly, but the servant leaders get it.
Yeah. And at the heart of that is a dream, right? This franchise, every franchise is somebody's dream.
Right.
It's their dream for everything that a business ownership provides. The independence, the flexibility, all of the things that corporate America doesn't give you. In fact, it takes all of those things, and not a lot of people build up the will and confidence and are willing to go against what even their closest family and friends may think is best for them.
Right.
Yeah. It's rare space to say, I want to get into business ownership. And the beautiful thing about franchising is you're in business with other business owners.
Right. And it becomes part of their dream, or becomes their dream, right? I mean, you've noticed that in sounds like the last few years, you've grown in leaps and bounds, right? And so at this point you have, you're running towards 100 locations, right? And after, just in the last few years, which is, fantastic, and says a lot for your leadership and your leadership team, your commitment, and being an integrity-based leader, which is rare these days. But when you share your dream, your vision, and you got to be passionate about it, and you've been passionate, focused ever since the day I met you, And I think it just gets more passion and more, more focused, which is great. That's a unique trait in you. But when you see that you can share that little bit of a dream with these individuals that are around the country that are looking for their dream, they're looking for their, they want to jump onto somebody's tracks and build a business. And so when they connect with you and you find that right match, it really does start to spread like fire.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful
that hockey stick growth we talked about, where you do that consistent growth at the front end of the first period of time. That might be 6 months, it might be a couple of years, and then things start to, all that compound focus and success that your franchisees are having, and everything starts to tweak out and get really streamlined, and then all of a sudden you have that hockey stick growth, which is a kind of a hallmark of good, successful franchise companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We would talk about all these concepts as we were really incubating and establishing the foundation of Lime, and to see these things come to life, and to have your coaching as the foundation to it. It's really been stabilizing and given me a lot of confidence to take on the growth, because, oh my gosh, like you said, a franchise system, that's the traditional hallmark, that hockey stick trajectory. And that takes a certain level of understanding for how all of that works. Franchising is a different business than the paint business. Yeah.
Well, and you were willing to learn all the, you're one of those people that just wants to consume knowledge, right? Which is another thing I've always really loved about you, Nick, that some people want to just get enough information to skate by so they can get to the goods, right? They can get to the growth and the money. But you were always the one that wanted to buckle down and know everything you could know. And I never had to worry about having to chase you down, right? You were always ready to roll and jump into any initiative that we had, whether it be the Fight for Your Franchise Challenge or one of the cooperative marketing programs, or even volunteer to participate in giving back, helping others in our universe of franchisors. But that's part of having that appetite for that kind of learning and knowledge is part of becoming a great franchise leader. And that's what you're talking about with leveling up. I would assume that, how do you become a really great franchise leader? And that doesn't mean you're the rich guy sitting up in the tower, counting the gold. It means that you're a servant leader on the bottom, and you're going out there and working hard to keep your franchisees growing and keep them successful, and praying for them and working for them and doing whatever it takes to help them grow and become more and more successful. And that's really the key, right? Because the more you give, the more you get in the franchise model, much like life, right? But you spent that time in that first couple of years to really learn everything you could about becoming great as a franchise leader. And then when the growth started to hockey stick, and you got those, you did the right thing with the early adopters. And I preach this all the time. You get those first few early adopters that are going to help set the pace and be great validators, of course, but set the pace for what the other franchise owners will look like. And you had, Matt and Tyler and the guys that were your first franchise owners that kind of helped usher in the new, what we call proof of concept franchisees, the ones that didn't necessarily have an inner circle relationship with you. And that goes into that second stage. And then once you're past that second stage, you're going to the outside world, the proof of concept people and beyond. And then that's where hockey stick happens. We have a little diagram on our website that kind of shows those steps, and you marched through those steps perfectly. And you got the fundamentals down in the beginning so that you were ready for it. and look what you've done in a few years. It's pretty impressive. So
yeah, I've learned, look what we've done. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I more so get in the way.
Right. Try to let your team run and not trip them up. Right.
Yeah. Rick, what do you think is something that's been surprising to you that you've learned, that you've realized throughout your franchising career about franchising?
That's a great question. I get surprised a lot. I think when I was a new franchisor, I thought everybody was going to want my franchise and that everyone was going to be successful. I mean, I couldn't understand why people would invest money and then not be successful, right? I started to realize it had nothing to do with the investment. It had everything to do about the people and is the connection of the franchise model connecting with the person and who they want to be. Because you can't take somebody that's not what I call a mismatch. You can't take somebody, in my opinion, that's a total mismatch and have them buy a franchise and then just totally change their stripes and make them successful at whatever. There has to be the right combination of things. So I think probably the most impressive and impactful realization I've had in franchising is that the success is based on obviously having the right franchise system and having a good one and having a great leadership team and commitment and then picking the right franchisees. It's a match. It's a match between the brand and the people and kind of what are their attributes. One of the things I do quite often is I get calls from people that were mismatched. They ended up buying a franchise for the wrong reasons, or they ended up having buyer's remorse after 6 months or a year or 2 years. And I've had people sit in my office and cry because they were so disheartened about their decision. And really what we try to do is help, direct them to a better match, right? But when you find the right one, it's like finding the magic, right? So I think the biggest surprise for me is seeing those dots connect for the right people and just seeing magic happen. People talk about lightning in a bottle all the time, and I think you found your lightning for sure. But the idea is, in order for that lightning in a bottle to happen, you need to have the right connections, or the right franchisees, the right franchisor, and the right executive team. It all has to click. And then it happens. So that's been
how do you reproduce? How do you level up reproducing that magic, right? How do you level up around that? It's the constant gap that's being closed. How are we getting closer and closer to that ideal avatar? Granted, I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody at decision day, and it's just, the team and I, we really struggle around, should we award this territory to this person? And then they become an owner and, oh my gosh, they just have what it takes to build a business. And of course, you have similar situations where, it doesn't click as fast. And maybe it's someone that comes in and is like a ideal fit, and yet their results are lackluster. That fit is taking a while to click. It's such a science, but yet an art. And it's I don't know if you can ever get the perfect formula, but I guess that's kind of the art that goes into it, right? There is a science and there is an art. Yeah. There is an eye and a gut feel and intuition and. Yeah, you're right.
It's kind of like being a parent, right? I mean, all of our children, we have 4 children, you have 4 children. They're all different. Certainly they have their minds of their own, and we try to guide them and help them, and they make their own decisions ultimately. And in relationships of any kind, we have to understand that everybody has their own belief system, their own things that inspire them and motivate them, and everything else. And a really great franchisor is a really great coach. And to be a great coach, you have to be willing to adapt somewhat to the franchisee, the client, just like we do. I have franchisor executives all over the world that I coach, and they're all different, and not everybody has the same operating system, so to speak, right? Yeah. So if the way that I encourage people to capture that lightning in a bottle and reproduce it is have your system all figured out, and then be able to deliver the system to the individuals based on who they are. And that's the key, because if you're a driver, like you and I are drivers, if you're a driver and you're trying to, teach somebody a driver type of system to an analytical person, it's not going to work for them, right? So you got a chameleon, because the system will work for them, but it has to be delivered to them and taught to them in a way that they can actually do it and feel good about it.
We use a tool called Culture Index, and they're based out of Kansas City. Our leadership team, and we actually took one of our franchise at Tyler Foose, our Boulder. Actually, Foose now owns Boulder, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs. They're all 3 open, and he was awarded 3 more in San Diego. Nice. You have spent a lot of time with Mr. Foose, and knew him all the way back when he was a VRC in Denver.
Yep. Oh, I remember. Gosh. Yeah, great guy, great team all the way through.
Oh my gosh, has he leveled up? Right. Yeah. It's been really neat to see that, lightning in a bottle happen there with Mr. Foose. But oh my gosh, we were just talking about Culture Index, and Foose went out and has definitely been a leader at Lime. So of course he would go out and get certified with our leadership team. And this tool does such a great job of helping us understand. It doesn't necessarily disqualify or qualify, but it does show us, how do you learn, right? Are you more methodical, or are you, I need to get out, get my hands in it, and the list goes on. Yeah. Introverted, extroverted, logical, emotional, high sense of ingenuity or not. Are you very conforming or not conforming? And so being able to understand, within our platform, we call it the roster, and it's basically all of our owners. And a part of what's on that display, a bunch of KPIs and where they're at in terms of their launch. But one of the things that we have on there is their Culture Index results, and, how they learn and how they go about making decisions so that we can better support and onboard and from an ongoing standpoint, coach and support. And you remember our sales academy, right, at Lime. Yeah. And so we tailored 4 different profiles: directors, analyticals, agreeables, and did I say extroverts? But those 4 profiles, and a homeowner, a client can be a combination, but 101, we can't deliver our respin presentation to a client if we are, trying to communicate analytically to a director.
Right. Yeah, no time for it.
No time for it.
To the bottom line, right?
To the bottom line. Oh my gosh. And such is life, right, Rick? Yeah. And so, I wouldn't be doing anyone any justice if I didn't ask you this. For new franchise owners, what are some advice? What are some pieces of advice that you would give to a new franchise owner?
Well, in the book, I put the franchise owner's 10 commandments, and I put the franchisor's 10 commandments in there too, kind of staying in theme with the franchise Bible. But there's the top 10 things that every franchise owner can do to maximize their investment. Like I said earlier, it always surprised me when people would make the investment and then not make the most of it. And sometimes that happens. If you're careful with your vetting and you're making sure you're connecting the dots with the right people, that's pretty rare that you have a problem. But dive in with both feet, and that means volunteer to participate on panels at the conference. If you have an owner's advisory council in your organization, which every organization should have, join, run for it. If it's appointed or if it's an election type thing, be involved in the owner's advisory committee. Yes, it's going to be extra work, but you're doing it for the brand. So if the franchise owner will take the same type of attitude about the servant leadership and understand that the more they give to franchisor, the more the brand will grow, then you have that give and take on both sides, that servant leader commitment on both sides. Owners Advisory Committee, make the most of the program you signed up for, right? Get into it, know it backwards and forwards. Every time there's a webinar, a class, some way to level up in your knowledge, take advantage of it. And then I always say, strive to be the top producer, not so that you can brag or stand up on the stage or make others feel lesser, but be an inspiration. There's a whole psychology to the growth of a franchise system where you have the top producers are incredibly inspiring to everyone else. That's usually in that top 20% or so. And the other franchise owners look up to those folks and kind of show them the way of maximizing their commitment, maximizing their return on investment. And so be a top producer, try to be. Think about multiple store ownership, like Tyler. He leveled up. He got to a point where he started to feel like he needed to grow a little bit. And, multi-unit franchise ownership is a wonderful way to level up. Some of the wealthiest and most successful people I know in the franchise world are multi-unit owners. Yep. So once you figure out how to do that, that system, it's pretty easy to open up another market and go for it, right? So it's a wonderful way. So there's several more things on that list, but if you sit back and say, what has franchisor done for me lately, and kind of wait for things to happen, you're not going to be a top producer. If you commit to being to be in it, buy in lock, stock, and barrel, and participate and give back to the franchisor, and of course there has to be trust there. In a servant leader model, there obviously should be trust, but go for it, go all in, and you'll find that you'll grow, much faster and much more success will come your way.
Yeah, well said. Oh my gosh. So if somebody wants to learn more and listen to more of your content, level up through your content, where would they find you?
Well, thanks, Nick. franchisebiblecoach.com is my website. And you can also search me on entrepreneurial.com and just search my name, Rick Grossman, with 2 N's. And I have webinars and content on there as well. But either way, we'd love to be a resource for anyone that's looking for some guidance out there.
Yeah, highly recommend, obviously, but I am very biased. Thank you for tuning in. If you've enjoyed the content, please like, subscribe, comment, and as always, get limed.
Get limed. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Level Up with Nick Lopez show. Remember, It's never too late to get started on your entrepreneurial journey. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoyed today's segment. Catch us again next week and visit limepainting.com for more of the Level Up with Nick Lopez show.